question is, Denver Nuggets win the NBA championship last night. And all I could think of is, how can the Sixers get close to where the Denver Nuggets are? Are they close to Sixers to where the Denver Nuggets are? Are the Sixers even remotely there? Does any of these rumors that we bring up get the Sixers to that pinnacle of winning an NBA championship? I don't know. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. Phillies blow one last night against the Diamondbacks. Lots of reasons why. We'll talk about that as well. All different rumors, all different things happening. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network starts in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow, share it, shout it from the rooftops. Trending in the AM is the #1 sports YouTube show in the Philadelphia market, the first one ever daily and the best one, and it's the only place where your opinions matter. That's why I want you to come on in. If you're watching on Twitter, head on over to the YouTube page, the Facebook page. That is where you want to be because that's where we could get interactive. But wherever you're watching, like I said, like, share, retweet it, subscribe, do all that things. Topics today, Sixers, Bradley Beal. That's the latest rumor. We're going to talk about it. How far are they, though, from that NBA title realistically? And JT Realmuto is the answer now to the trivia question, who was the last Philly to hit for the cycle? It is no longer David Bell. Thank God. I don't have to remember David Bell's name anymore. It's now JT Realmuto, but they still lose, and there's lots to get into. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am not mid. I am not. Jimmy Butler's performance in Game 5 of the NBA Finals with your season on the line, that was mid. That was actually slightly below mid, just so you know. Joker is a champion. Shout out to the Denver Nuggets for winning the NBA championship. Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now. And his team just won the NBA championship. I know there's a word, dynasty, being floated around that they're about to become the next dynasty. I'm not ready to say that yet. But shout out to them. They took care of business. #1 seed right through the playoffs, regular season, best team in the NBA. You know, round of applause. Oh, there we go. The button finally worked there. Round of applause to our Denver Nuggets NBA championship. But, you know, as I watched, and I didn't watch the whole game last night, we'll get into the Phillies and the Sixers here today, and whatever comments and thoughts that are pertinent that you guys put in the comments. I say that because, you know, comments like this is not pertinent to today's conversation. It's not, and it's not even true. You sit there and I'm watching, and I didn't stay up super late, so I didn't see the end of the Phillies game. I stayed up till the end of the championship game just to see because, you know, the Miami Heat tried to make it a game at the end there. And I'm watching the last 5-10 minutes of that game. And I'm just thinking of our Sixers. And I'm just thinking, are we even close to that? I know we are close on paper. You know, we were one game away. We were one quarter away in game 6 or 7 from beating the Celtics and going up against the Heat. I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, even though we're this close, even though we've got Joel Embiid, we had James Harden last year. Who knows who we'll have next year? I'm just sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, are the Sixers that close? And you know, Nick Nurse was on a podcast. I read a recap of it with Brian. He was on the Brian Windhorst podcast. Nick Nurse was. I don't know if it was yesterday. I read about it yesterday. I read the recap. I didn't listen to it. You know, and Nick Nurse really truly believes, you know, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, that it's not like we're that far off, that it's not major changes have to happen. It's a tweak this, tweak that. And it's got me confused maybe to an extent because I watched what I saw last night and I just don't know if they're that close. And I think this is a great comment. Would have given up in the third quarter. Miami played like crap last night. Actually, Denver didn't play that great overall. I mean, if you look at the box score from last night's game, the Heat shot 25% from three. The Nuggets shot 17% from three. So, the Sixers, now they would have given up by the third quarter is like very, very telling of what somebody that's not a Sixers fan thinks of this Sixers team. Now, was that the losing culture that Doc Rivers had brought and groomed in Philly? Or was that just the players themselves are just not capable of closing the deal? That go back to we need that number two that could be the number one when the game is on the line. For as bad as Jimmy Butler played last night, I mean, with like 5 minutes left in the game, he had like 9 points in the game or 8 points in the game. He ended up with 21. He knocked down a couple of threes, took some fouls. That foul call of him shooting that three, and he missed it, but they called the three-shot foul on him. That was an awful call. The refs were trying to get Miami back in that game, and then they even reviewed it and didn't overturn it. And I love Van Gundy on the tailgate, just blatantly calling out the refs for it. I actually love Jeff Van Gundy and Stan Van Gundy's commentary when they're on games for ESPN, TNT, whoever they work for. I really do like their work. They have no problem. They don't pull any punches. They really did try to give the Heat a chance there. But you watch that game and I think that's a perfect comment from Chatter. It's like, would the Sixers have even been able to rally in that fourth quarter? Or would they have packed their bags in the third quarter when they were down and just been like, the Nuggets are the better team. We can't do this. Who would have been that Jimmy Butler that's having a bad game that would have just stepped up in those final 5 minutes and said, I'm going to do everything I can to will us into this game. And it wasn't enough. And as mid of a performance that Jimmy Butler had, his fourth quarter kept it from being below mid. So it's a fall. His junk hit the sky. Exactly. The defender got called for a foul for getting kicked in the lower region by Jimmy Butler. It's all about protecting the shooter and the landing and stuff like that. Well, what about protecting the defender? It's crazy. It really is. What is up, Eric? How you doing this morning? And the conversation is, how close are the Sixers, realistically speaking? Now, the thing is, when we're talking about how close they are, Jimmy dumbass should have stayed. Yeah, I mean, honestly, after watching last night's game, I won't lie, I think Jimmy Butler came up small in the entire NBA Finals. I really don't think – I think Jimmy Butler, he put so much effort on him, or so much pressure on himself to carry a team that by the time the season's on the line in the NBA Finals, personally, I think he had lost a step. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen over the next week or two, but we've joked about the rumors of him and Jimmy or Joel wanting to play together still, maybe. I want nothing. I love Jimmy Butler. He should have never left. That jersey will stay there forever. I want nothing to do with Jimmy Butler back in Philly at this point because I just don't know. I don't even know what's going to happen in Miami. I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to tweak it. But you got to convince Jimmy Butler somehow throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, to trust his teammates. And a lot of guys stepped up. Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin. They had really great playoff runs. But still, Jimmy Butler, the effort he puts out on a nightly basis, caught up to him. And maybe if he trusted his teammates a little bit more, things would have been different. And I think that goes to Denver Nuggets. Why did the Denver Nuggets win the NBA Finals and the NBA Championship? Because they have a great star in the Joker. They got great players in roles, knowing their roles. They got Jamal Murray, a star that knows his role. Aaron Gordon stepping up into that fourth role. Michael Porter Jr. knows his role to a T. You got guys like, Bruce Brown on the bench and, guys that just know exactly what they got to do and when they got to do it. And the Sixers just don't have that. The Heat don't have that. So what you got to do is you got to look at the last couple championship teams and look at why they won a championship outside of their star player, their top player. Sixers top player, Joel Embiid. Why did these teams win titles and the Sixers can't get out of the second round? No, I fully believe the culture aspect of it, and the losing mentality of Doc Rivers was a part of it. I really, truly do. And there's a little voice in my head saying Nick Nurse running it back could get this team over the top. But there's still something about the defined roles of a team and developing talent and developing guys that just has been missing. What does that say when not only bad call in action, but then in the dude, the fact that they didn't overturn that blew my mind, man. Blew my mind. Thank God Denver still won. Because if Denver lost by 1 or 2 points and that was that way one of the turning points there, man, I would have been fired up as a Denver Nuggets fan. And shout out to the Denver Nuggets fans. You know, winning your first title, not just in your lifetime, but ever for a franchise, that's got to be a hell. I mean, as an Eagles fan, 2017 first Super Bowl. I know what it's like to win the first in a franchise's history. It means a little bit more than anything else. This is what a team built through the draft looks like. Yeah. The problem is the Sixers have no draft picks. You know, in Nick Nurse's interview with Brian Windhorst the other day, he talked about getting back to Philly soon to start the draft prep. And he knows the Sixers have no draft picks. So that, to me, tells me that he knows that we still got to build this team with some young talent, that maybe they make some trades for cash considerations for second-round picks. Maybe they get some kind of a trade and they get a late first-round pick. Maybe they're just going to start scouting the guys that might fall and the undrafted guys. But he knows there's got to be some young talent added to this team that he's going to have to develop. Because you got to build through that youth movement. You absolutely do. You need one more new player to create the secret sauce along with a new coach. Well, that's all we've been talking about since the Sixers season ended. This guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. Obviously, Fred VanVleet declined his player option yesterday. I know all the signs point to him coming to Philly, and I'm perfectly fine with that. How? I don't know. I mean, Bradley Beal's the new name on the table. Not through LeBron and a big three in a bucket and add water. I get that. I understand what you're saying there. Bradley Beal is the new name that seems to be getting floated around. And make sure you're liking this video, sharing it out, no matter what platform you're watching it on. We got 6 likes so far on the video. It's still a little early. Only a few people in the comment section. How far are the Sixers? And you hear this name, Bradley Beal, start floating around, circulating through the rumor mill. That him and Joel Embiid are best buddies, and I think they have the same. I think they're both Drew Hanlon clients, so whatnot. And it's like, and the Washington is like ready to blow it up, and Bradley Beal, he does have a no trade clause, but whatever. There's so much that goes on there. But is Bradley Beal really the answer? Is Bradley Beal at, 29, going to be 30 this upcoming season? That much better than 33, going to be 34 James Harden? At least Harden and Beal already have a relationship. Bradley Beal might have one of the worst contracts in basketball right now, too. I'm cool on Beal and all recycled names with 200,000 miles. That's a great point right there. Isn't Bradley Beal and Maxey redundant? That's another fantastic point. There's a lot of people that are all on board this Bradley Beal train. If you were GM and you had to create a package to get Hornets number 2, what would you? Oh yeah, I don't know about that. The Sixers aren't in a position to do that. The Bradley Beal part, man. I mean, there's people that think that you could just trade Tobias Harris because they're trying to create cap space and trying to get off of Bradley Beal's contract. Tobias Harris straight up for Bradley Beal might actually get you Bradley Beal. But does Bradley Beal with Maxey and Joel Embiid, who's going to be your ball handler? You get 2 shooting guards, 2 small shooting guards, 2 small shooting guards that aren't great defensive players. Bradley Beal has only played 61 games. He's played 60 games or less. I don't know how many seasons in a row. He's only passed 60 games, I think, twice in his career. The guy is more injured than Joel Embiid. There was a point in his career where he's averaging 30 points a game. I get that. He's a mid 3-point shooter. He averages like 35% a year most times. Once or twice he's ticked it up close to 40. Like, I don't know. How do I say this the right way without sounding offending or sounding stupid? I don't know if Bradley Beal's as much of a star as he thinks he is. Like, Bradley Beal's the star on a bad Washington Wizards organization. But you put him on any major team, I don't think he's a superstar. He's a number 2 that might be a number 3. You put him on the Nuggets, he's not He's not averaging 30 points a game. He might not average 25 points a game. Jamal Murray's getting the ball before Bradley Beal on that Nuggets team. Like I don't understand the hype and circumstances. Now, if you're telling me Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal straight up, it intrigues me, especially if you definitely are losing James Harden. But then how do you build out the rest of your roster? I look at that Tobias contract and the Tobias trade factor as a great way to reshape the depth of this team. I know I've said it 100 times. Dallas with Reggie Bullock and Kleber and Bertans, that's the kind of direction I'm going. I want 3 role players for Tobias Harris, not one star that can't stay healthy and on the court. Bradley Beal here in Philly, even with his connection with Joel Embiid, also stunts the growth of Tyrese Maxey. They play the same role. Who's going to be your point guard? Who? And if you got 2 of the same guys playing the same position, if you listen to the Brian Windhorst interview with Nick Nurse, which I didn't, but I read the recap of it, very good recap, detailed recap. Nick Nurse called out to an extent Tyrese Maxey, that Tyrese Maxey needs to take his game to the next level, and he's going to work with Maxey to take his game to the next level. You bring in Bradley Beal here, doesn't that stop that? Doesn't that hold it down a little bit? As a Sixers fan, I feel like Forrest Gump waiting for all these Jennies to come to us to pretend like we are contenders. That's a great comment. I mean, we're only 16 minutes into the show. Eric, you may have won comment of the day without a shadow of a doubt here. We always seem to get the guys a little too late. We always are looking for the next big thing instead of building our team with the draft, with depth. I don't think that chasing Dame Lillard, chasing Bradley Beal, chasing is the way to go. Honestly, if you're going to chase stars, you might as well just retain James Harden. If you read the recap or you listen to the Windhorst Nick Nurse interview, it still sounds like Nick Nurse. It's not just the intro press conference where he's making comments. It did sound like he does think there's a chance that James Harden's back, and maybe there is a common ground. Maybe you can convince him not to take 4 years, $200 million, less years, more money per year, or some kind of common ground in the middle. And honestly, if you're going to go star chasing again, at least you've got some chemistry already built between Harden and Embiid. You just roll with that. I don't think Brad makes sense with Maxey, but Brad is amazing. He's not all NBA, but he's a professional scorer. I mean, maybe I'm underselling Bradley Beal a little bit, Cam. There's a chance. But I just look at Bradley Beal, as great as he is, as much of a star scorer as he is, he hasn't been able to elevate his team. And I know Washington's a dreadful organization. I know that. The Wizards are not good and haven't been for a long time. But if he's as good as it is, he hasn't actually gotten them even to a playing game. And I don't need another guy that's only going to play 55 games a year. Well, I did just say I would take Kawhi Leonard, who only plays like 60 games a year. The problem is I'm okay with guys playing less games for load management. Bradley Beal gets injured, whether it's his wrist. He's had wrist issues a lot lately. There's a lot of health issues when it comes with Bradley Beal. He's as fragile as Joel Embiid. There's not enough time. Not enough time. 2 years ago, when we were looking at KD and Jaylen Brown, I was saying Brandon Ingram would be cheaper. Then he busted out on the scene for the Pelicans. I think you could still get Brandon Ingram on the Sixers, Eric. I think there's a scenario where there's a trade, whether it's Tobias Harris and players and picks, that you get Brandon Ingram here. We have not had yet. I mean, you look around the NBA, every NBA team's got a guy that's plays that small forward position that can score. Jimmy Butler. Jamal Murray's more of a 2-guard, but he's a bigger 2-guard, but they also have Michael Porter Jr. Every really good team, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Giannis, every team's got that guy that could score. That's a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guy. And the Sixers just don't have it. And Bradley Beal isn't going to be the answer. And I'm torn. I really am on, even if they do go make a big move like this, does that get them to the point where they can compete. Now, I talk about timing and I talk about, you got to look around the league and everything else when you're making these decisions. The East is still kind of sort of open. The Bucks have had issues. They've gotten their title, but they've had issues. They got a new coach this year, a rookie coach. The Bucks have Giannis, but Chris Middleton, I've heard him in floating in trade rumors. They don't have a lot of depth on their team outside of their stars. And how much of stars are their other two big guys in Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday? They're good players, but they're not great. They're really good players. They're not great. The Bucks, Tatum, Brown, that's a problem. That's a for sure problem. They've won, but they've also struggled at times. The Heat, can the Heat really? They don't have the money to really make bigger runs. Now, maybe the Heat are better if Tyler Hero doesn't get hurt. Maybe they make a bigger run. I don't know. If the Sixers go all in again and make big, bold moves and bring in more stars, Bradley Beal or whoever, are they playing last night against the Denver Nuggets? And let's be honest, we're talking about the right way to build a team, and Denver Nuggets have done that through the draft and adding the right pieces and developing talent and not rushing anything. But are the Nuggets set up for long-term success? Probably. But it's not like the Nuggets formula has worked many times. You still need one or two stars most years to win. And again, just to remind you, I think that word dynasty is used far too often. And I'm not ready to say Nuggets dynasty. I saw people floating that word around on Twitter this morning. And no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't put that there just yet. But again, I am very happy for those Nuggets fans. You earned it. I'm still so torn. And tomorrow, we got to guess Mr. Crockpot Deebs from Edge of Philly Sports. He's the guy that came up with all those Joel Embiid trade proposals that I ran on the show. He's going to be joining me tomorrow. We're going to run through all these options for the Sixers, again, with him, because he really understands trade values and contracts and what works and what doesn't work in the NBA. More than I do. But when I see rumors like Bradley Beal, I love this comment from Adam that just popped up on the Facebook side. Fantastic comment, Adam. I saw this morning on social media float around too. DeAndre Jordan and Ish Smith won NBA championships. If keeping Ish Smith wins us a championship, that would have been hilarious. Ish Smith, process guy, winning a title. Love to see it. Not really. I couldn't stand those two guys, honestly. But good for them. You put in the years in the NBA. Ish Smith and DeAndre Jordan have been around for ages and getting a ring for hardly doing anything. I don't even know if Ish Smith saw the floor in the playoffs, period. It's hilarious to see that. Nuggets are the Bucks of the West. I don't know, maybe. Yeah. I don't know if the Nuggets have multiple or back-to-back title runs in them. They're going to contend. They're going to be a top team again. I think the Lakers are going to make moves. The Suns are still a really great team with KD and Booker. No matter whether they add another star to that trio or not, they're going to be better next year. You add KD at the end of the year, he plays like 4 games and it's the playoffs. That's a tough thing to overcome. So the Suns are going to make a run next year, and they may be my favorite already for next year. I don't know. But there's so much to it. 76ers Ish Smith was the best Ish Smith. And that's not saying much right there. Nuggets got lucky drafting a superstar in the second round. Impossible. Dude, I saw somebody. I don't know all the names off the top of my head. But obviously, the Joker is the exception or the best of them. But that whole entire second round, there are a lot of names. Jeremy Grant came in that second round. There are a lot of names that are viable NBA players. That was probably one of the best second rounds in the last 20 years on the NBA draft. A lot of star players, not star, but a lot of really great players, and role players that came out of that draft that are still playing today. Hey, look at that. The process did win. Yeah, take that, NBA. Ish Smith is holding a trophy. He's going to get a big diamond ring. Does Joel have a finals run him? We saw Jokic screaming at his team to play better while Joel, and I think this is such a fair point. You go out and get Bradley Beal. Who's going to be the leader on the team? When the going gets tough, is it going to be PJ Tucker again? Shouting and screaming at people, yo, you got to step up your game? It would mean so much more to a teammate if Joel Embiid is that guy. PJ Tucker, I'm not taking anything away from him. He is that guy, and that's great. But PJ Tucker is a mid player. Joel Embiid is the MVP, the star. He has the right to hold people accountable. And when the MVP talks, you listen. Problem is, we keep saying you need a 2 that's going to be the 1 in crunch time. Well, is Bradley Beal that 2 that could become a 1? No, he is not, in my opinion. It was 2014. I couldn't remember the year, dude. You know what? I got to pull this up here. That 2014 NBA draft had some not stud, but you know what I mean. Some really damn good players in the second round here. All right, let me go here. I got it. Okay, so we drafted KJ McDaniels and Josh Harris went next, still playing good. Let's see, Spencer Dinwiddie, really good player. Jeremy Grant, all-star player, max player, a guy I've mocked to the Sixers this offseason. I would love to find it. Glenn Robinson III played a few seasons. Nikolai Jokic, obviously. After him, Dwight Powell. I think he's still playing. Jordan Clarkson came in that draft. In the second round, let's see. I thought there was one more down here at the bottom. Jordan McRae, he didn't really do too much. Played a few years. But that's like 4 or 5 guys, role players and all-star level players that came in that second round of that draft. It's insane. I mean, you look at the top of the draft: Wiggins, Parker, Embiid, Gordon. You got Gordon in that draft too. Dante Exum. Wow, that was bad. He was a bad NBA guard. Marcus Smart came in that draft. And Nick Stauskas, a top 10 pick. Damn, and Noah Vonleh. Noah Vonleh just stopped playing. I feel like Noah Vonleh played like 37 years in the NBA. Dougie McBuckets, Dario Saric, a lot of Zach LaVine. We've talked his name a lot. Joseph Nurkic came out of that draft. Wow. Tyler Ennis, he was really bad. There's some players in that draft. There are definitely some players in that draft. And yeah, Jamal Murray might not be Beal or anyone flashy, but is an absolute killer. If you think about it, he is their closeout player. Can Maxey be that guy? It's a lot to ask of a 22-year-old. Asking a 22-year-old to be the killer. So here, I'll pose it to you this way, guys. Bradley Beal, I'm a no on Bradley Beal. Now, it seems like, I saw somebody pose the question yesterday, Bradley Beal or James Harden, who do you want? And on paper, it seems so obvious. Well, you want the younger guy in Bradley Beal. But when the answer's so obvious like that, probably means it's the wrong answer. And I'd probably prefer James Harden over Bradley Beal at this point. I also think James Harden being here helps the development of Maxey. Can he be the Jamal Murray? Maybe, maybe not. Nick Nurse is going to try to make him the Jamal Murray. But what would you rather? Would you rather Bradley Beal and Tyrese Maxey backcourt for the next 4 years? Would you rather James Harden for the next 3 or 4 years opposite Tyrese Maxey? Or would you like more of a veteran role player type guy in Fred VanVleet? And with him opting out, every sign points to Fred VanVleet to Philly. How they get the money done, I don't know. But with Fred VanVleet with Tyrese Maxey, and then you still have other assets to move, like Tobias Harris's contract, to round out the team. You want role players. You want a deeper roster. You got to think about building the roster. And I don't know where you're going to get the Murray on this Sixers team. Also, does the team want Maxey closing out the game? It's tough to demand the ball when you're MVP. We've talked about this a few times since the season ended, where Joel Embiid is the guy. But you need someone else that can step into that guy role with the last 2 minutes of the game on the line. You got to tell him. You can't have the MVP get. And I think also him demanding the ball. If he demands the ball and gets the ball with 12 seconds left in the shot clock versus 3 seconds, some of those, end of game moments might turn out a little differently instead of him having to rush his move, rush his first step, rush his shot. So there's that to consider as well. I get that it's a lot to ask, but at some point, Maxey got to wear them big boy pants. I agree. And I think Nick Nurse already has a plan. He's met with the majority of the team. He's spoken to these guys, some of them multiple times. He's got these guys on a plan for the offseason. I think Nick Nurse and Tyrese Maxey are going to work well together, and he's going to find a way to unlock that next level. Tyrese Maxey's already a star in this league. He's not a superstar yet. There's a difference between a star and a superstar. He is already a star. He's a borderline all-star player. But we forget, he ascended to star level and stardom And he's only 22, which means his ceiling is still not reached, Tyrese Maxey. And that's why that backtrack into earlier episodes, the pause year, where you're focused on developing Maxey, protecting Embiid a little bit, and just trying to develop Maxey and other guys like Springer, McDaniels, whoever you keep. That's the key to me. That's the key to this offseason. So that 2 years from now, he might be it. If I'm choosing Beal over Harden, I'm going Beal. At least he is going to get shots up. But who's controlling the point? Who's the offense running through? I'm not saying I need a point guard like James Harden to have average 10 or 11 assists. But Bradley Beal's not a point guard. He's not setting the offense up. And that's the problem. Like, I really think it was Eric said it earlier. Isn't it redundant to have Beal next to Maxey? Are you really now the thing is, if it really truly is only going to cost you James Harden straight up for Bradley Beal because they're just trying to get off that contract, I mean, it's intriguing. I do want to trade Harris for 3 role players, but it is intriguing. But you're talking $45 million over the next 4. You don't want to pay James Harden $50 million over the next 4 years, but you're going to pay Bradley Beal about $45 over the next 4. It's a lot for a guy that plays 55 games a year. What if Maxey isn't the guy until he's like 27? Well, if he's not the guy till he's 27, then he won't be the guy when he's here in Philly because they're not going to wait that long. They're going to give Maxey an opportunity, but whatever next year's incarnation is, if it doesn't work out, at some point Maxey could end up getting traded. Unless Joel Embiid gets moved on and out of here. Then Maxey's got 4 or 5 years to fully maximize it. But that's what the pause. If you put Beal next to Maxey, Judd, it might be 27 by the time he fully realizes who he is. If you don't go get a Beal, if you keep Harden, you go get VanVleet. Hell, you go get Chris Paul. If you get a real point guard to put next to him, he can realize that by 23, 24. But if you go get another redundant player and put him next to him, it's going to take a lot longer. We've seen Maxey match the play of Morant. There's the other one. Go get John Morant. We kind of hinted at it. We never really talked about it. Would you guys be okay with bringing John Morant in here? You could probably get him pretty cheaply, considering who he is. He's going to sit 30 or 40 games this year. But you get him out of Memphis, you help his personal life by getting away from all the Memphis distractions. Let him sit in the owner's box, or private box watching basketball, detach, whatever. Is John Morant a name you'd be willing to take a chance on to pair with Maxey? I mean, it's intriguing to me. I want Alexander so bad. I honestly don't need Maxey to be a super. I just need him to be a killer. I just need him to. It's something that I saw it get a little bit better. This is something that I've been talking about for over a year now on this show. And, even when it was on a previous network, I've always said that Maxey was at his best when Tobias Harris was on the floor with him and not Harden and Embiid. And it's because, at his young age, especially 21, going into 22-year-old age, he was so young. He just was like, I felt like almost intimidated when he was on the court with Harden and Embiid. Like, he wouldn't give me the ball. I'm the guy that's going to get to the rim and get the bucket. I'm going to get to the free throw line. Like, he was too passive with them. But then when you had him and Harris on the floor, but no Embiid and Harden, he demanded the ball, and he got the ball, and he got his points, and he got his shots up. Maxey needs something to click that he belongs, that he is as good as those guys, that he is the man, that he can be the playoff killer. And I think that is something that he needs to do. And we'll see. Let's see what some of these. So point guards do point guards even exist anymore? I mean, that's a fair point. It's a very fair point. Well, I don't want Joel bringing up the ball half the time. I don't. It doesn't seem like he's exerting a lot of effort, but he is exerting effort bringing up that ball. I don't want him bringing up the ball. Not at all. Having Harden and Joel in the playoffs is redundant as they have come up. You know what? Extremely fair comment and fair point. I say I want James Harden over Bradley Beal. We don't know what Bradley Beal is in the playoffs. He's never really had a playoff run before. Now, we have seen James Harden come up small his entire career in the playoffs. He's disappeared countless times, not just this year. Last year, Houston. So the last time he was successful in the playoffs was with OKC, and he was a six-man then, wasn't he? So, at least Bradley Beal, maybe there's something you can unlock in the playoffs there. I don't know. But I'm not doing, like, realistically speaking, I don't want Harden or Beal. I slightly edge to Harden over Beal. And I slightly edge, I know he's not a star, but I slightly edge to VanVleet over Beal and Harden at this point. Maxi's work ethic shows he ain't for. Yeah. Look, we got to give James Harden credit. James Harden helped Maxi grow as a player, helped them unlock some of his offensive stuff. But Maxi can be the man. I really, truly think that. He just needs to keep that count. Again, we're putting a lot of pressure in this show on Tyrese Maxey and him stepping up. Question is, or the point is, are we putting too much pressure and expectations on a 22-year-old kid? He should still be developing. He shouldn't have the weight of the world, the weight of the Sixers organization and Sixers Nation. All of us fans shouldn't be on Tyrese Maxey's back right now. It's all about self-awareness and confidence now. And I think that's right. And that's something that Nick Nurse has to work on with him, is that self-awareness, that confidence. Tobias Harris and draft picks for Bradley. You might not need to throw draft picks in there, honestly, because we don't have any anyway. Seriously, like, they want to get off that contract, and it's an albatross of a contract, honestly. They might just give you for Tobias Harris, and then at the trade deadline, they move Tobias Harris for picks to a contending team. I really, really, truly think that there is a chance that is possible. Maxey and Tobias need to be on separate units from Embiid and Harden. Yeah, I called that for a while, but yet they kept doing Maxey and Harden and Tobias and Maxey and Embiid and Tobias and Harden. Doc Rivers did, and I was saying it constantly. When the few minutes that Maxey played with Tobias, Maxey's efficiency was through the roof. And I think it's something that really, truly could be unlocked a little bit more, for sure. LaMelo Ball. Yeah, we're not getting LaMelo Ball, so we'll do that. Again, we got a lot of people watching Facebook and YouTube. You can like this video on Facebook as well. Share it out on Facebook. Hit the like button on YouTube, guys. We got 9 likes on YouTube, only 1, my personal like, on Facebook. Let's keep sharing this out. A lot of good comments rolling in, guys. I love all these comments rolling in. What's up with Johnny the Iconic? Yeah, he changes his name every other week. I can't believe Tobias got a contract like that. See, the thing is, though, here's the thing, Rio, and I appreciate your comment here. Tobias Harris was getting that contract no matter what. Philly or somewhere else. Maybe if it was somewhere else, it wouldn't have been 5 years. It would have been 4 years. But in the NBA, a lot of players get max contracts that don't deserve them because they got the money to spend. They have to outbid somebody else. He got the contract in Philly, not because they chose him over Jimmy Butler, because they lost Jimmy Butler and they couldn't lose both players that offseason. So they had to give it to him, because if they didn't give it to him, they couldn't have gone and offered Tobias Harris a 3-year, $60 million contract. He would never have signed it. He just wouldn't have, because he knew somebody was going to give him a 4-year max deal to walk in free agency. So it is what it is. Chris Middleton's a max player. He doesn't deserve a max contract. There's a lot of guys like that get huge contracts that don't deserve it. Harden should be too much Ben Simmons in the postseason. That's why I want him out. You either going to show up no matter what, or you're not. I want him freeze. Look. Harden did come up big in 2 games. He came up really small in a couple other games. You got to find a common ground where he, we talked about on the show a week or 2 ago, finding a way that he doesn't have so many high highs and low lows. Just get him in a constant 20 and 10 in the playoffs where he's just doing just enough. And by getting getting Maxey's confidence to the next level, and Embiid and stuff like that, building a better roster around him, more depth. Can you take some of that pressure off of Harden? Because it never fails. Whenever he has a big game, the next game he drops off. He's 34 years old. It is what it is. Beal also has he would probably waive that no trade clause to come play with his best buddy, JoJo, for sure. Yeah, facts. Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but it's just crazy. It's crazy. Like, I find it so crazy how many max contracts get given out in the NBA because people feel they have to. You shouldn't have to do anything, but they do, and it's a shame because there's a lot of teams that get screwed over by these max contracts. The Sixers are not the only team that are stuck with a Tobias Harris type contract that they don't want. This is what happens in the NBA, and it's an unfortunate aspect of the way the game is right now. So let's see here. General NBA question: do you think the NBA media dismissing certain teams' title chances, like Miami, and kind of creates a feeling of, no, I don't think. I think the anticlimactic finals is just because Denver's not a major media market. A lot of people. I mean, you look at it last night. I mean, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, 2-time MVP, wins an NBA Finals. He's like, yeah, cool, yeah, awesome. Like, there's no like Jimmy Butler wins the NBA Finals. He's crying probably. He's excited. He's jumping up or down. Hugging babies, kissing babies, shaking hands, doing whatever. There's no excitement out of Denver. And I think that's why it was kind of anticlimactic. It was just kind of like, it's a very blah team. There's not a lot of personality. There's not a lot of emotions. I think that really had something to do with it, for sure. John Wall. I want nothing to do with John Wall. Talk about guys with treads on the tires. Can John Wall even walk up and down a basketball court anymore? Is he doing is the Dougie still a thing? I mean, I think mid and drip are more of a thing than the Dougie at this point. I don't know. I just don't know which way the Sixers should go. I really don't. I really need to think more and more, and we've got time. The finals are over now, but there's still time. There's going to be, I think, sometime in July, when the season can start, the offseason can start, and can start making moves. We're going to keep talking about this over and over again. I just don't know. Yep, they're just winners, but man, what a pickup. Yeah, Bruce Brown was a great pickup for them. And that's the thing. You got to build a team, and then you got to build around your team, and they've done it right. Yeah, well, I have one knee. I only one right now. Teach Me How to Dougie 2009. Was that when it came out? I don't even know. I'm not hip enough. I'm not cool enough. I've never done it, and I never will do it. Yeah, you get playoff share money. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure about that. Look, all these rumors, all these topics that we've talked about, it is what it is. That is right. 100% right there, my man. I appreciate you, Eric. Always helping promote, always helping to push this show. We're at 11 likes right now on YouTube, 2 on Facebook right now. It should be 20 and 20 on both at least. I'm tired of seeing the Kelly Green talk. Oh, did you miss the show yesterday? No, you were on this show yesterday. That's right. We agreed on it. Yeah, man. Hate the Kelly Green. Didn't know we were going to bring up the Eagles in it. Today's episode. I was going to say, John, and if you hate the Kelly Green, you'll love this comment. I am so glad that our Philadelphia Phillies, when you're at a bar doing sports trivia and the question comes on the air, who was the last Philadelphia Philly to hit for the cycle? The answer is no longer David Bell. JT Realmuto hit for the cycle last night. And he is, no, Kelly Green is not the best strip. You're only saying that because you want to be the anti-me and John. JT Realmuto hits for the cycle last night for the Phillies in a 9-8 defeat. We're talking about the Sixers and how Daryl Morey has to fix all these mistakes that him and the rest of the former GMs have made on this team. Well, Dave Dombrowski, the president and GM of the Phillies, well, he's the president, Sam Folds the GM, but really Dombrowski makes all the moves, just like Daryl Morey makes all the moves, not Elton Brand for the Sixers. How do the Phillies still not have a fifth starter? How are we? We've been going with the bullpen game, it seems like, the entire season. Last night, the Phillies bats actually came alive to an extent. You literally had JT Realmuto hit for the cycle. But because you got to go bullpen game every fifth day, when you've got a bunch of other pitchers that are inconsistent as hell, and you still do that, I mean, is it really that awful to bring up Nick Abel at this point or Griff McGreary? Like, really? Is it really that bad? You have a fifth starter go 5 innings last night. You win that game. Is Nurse going to hire any more coaches? He's going to hire a lot more coaches. He's only hired one, I think, officially. There is no bench coach yet. Like no bench. He's only got the one guy. What was his name? Bobby Jackson or whoever he hired. That's the only one he's officially hired. Who is a better GM, Morey or Brand? I mean, I actually, honestly, if I was Elton Brand, I would ask out of Philly. I mean, he's got a cushy job. He basically gets coffee for everybody, hangs out, chills. Morey makes all the decisions. But if the person, I would always want to strive for better. And he's kind of like the backseat guy now. I would want out of Philly if I was Elton Brand. I really would. Let Daryl Morey take all the credit and all the crap for what's going on there. We have drafted really bad. Fultz, Simmons, Springer. Springer's not a bad draft pick. How do we know Springer? We don't know Springer's a bad draft pick. We don't know that. And Nick Nurse is going to do his thing and hopefully develop Springer. And Springer has the opportunity this year with the lack of maneuvers and lack of ability. And if you go back, again, I mentioned it earlier in the show, John. I didn't listen to the podcast, but I read the recap of the podcast. Brian Windhorst from ESPN had on Nick Nurse on his podcast. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. And he brought up Springer. He brought up D'Anthony Melton. He brought up some of the young guys and talking about unlocking the next step in their careers and their playing ability and that there is potential there. I loved when he brought up D'Anthony Melton more than Springer. So I'm a big D'Anthony Melton fan. D'Anthony Melton had moments last year. D'Anthony Melton can be that key role player off the bench if he gets a little bit more consistency. He's only 24 years old. He's coming up on the last year of his contract. D'Anthony Melton could have a breakout season under Nick Nurse for sure. Brand should go to Miami or San Antonio. Just go somewhere where San Antonio, he won't have a role there because really Popovich makes all the decisions there. Miami, Spoelstra, Pat Riley. Learn from Pat Riley. He won't make all the decisions, but maybe Pat Riley lets him make some decisions. I don't know. That'd be a good place. Give him a chance to play. Oh, he's going. But see, that's the problem. That's the difference between Doc Rivers and what Nick Nurse. Doc Rivers never gave the kids a chance. That's why Paul Reed never fully developed all the way. That's why guys like Bassie and Joe had more success leaving Philly than staying in Philly. That's the thing there. I love, man. Yeah, I mean, I think D'Anthony Melton could be no, we don't need to try that starting him thing that Doc Rivers did for a little while there. No. But he's a very viable bench option. He's a guy that can play 20 minutes a game, put up 9-10 points, play great defense. We don't have a lot of good perimeter defensive players right now on this roster. We're going to be hamstrung on what we could do to build this roster out, realistically speaking. Because honestly, I still think the Bradley Beals of the world, the big name trades that we keep talking about are very unrealistic. They really are. So you're going to rely heavily on some of the younger guys that you already have to take that next step. Nick Nurse has done that. I mean, you look at those Toronto teams, they only won one NBA Finals. But they always had young guys coming off the bench, putting up numbers, being productive, finding ways to contribute. Everybody always knew to always be ready at any moment and contribute when necessary. And I think that's what we're hoping Nick Nurse does here. I did read an interesting thing. Hopefully Nick Nurse isn't burned out. Doc Rivers, I felt burned out a year and a half ago. But Nick Nurse had just spent, 10 years in Toronto, 5 as an assistant, 5 as the head coach, coming right to Philly after getting fired. He's also coaching the World Cup Canadian basketball team this offseason. Plus, he talked about going to be out there for a summer league with the Sixers. It's going to be interesting. Make sure, I hope he has the energy. I hope he's not burned out like Doc Rivers. He's a little younger than Doc Rivers, so maybe he's got a little bit more of that youthful energy in him. I don't know. Look, all these things are great ideas, sort of. But realistically speaking, like I feel like I almost need to run a poll question after this show on Twitter. Would you rather Beal and Maxey, Harden and Maxey, VanVleet or Maxey, or just Maxey, and build and pause and rebuild? And I'm really curious what the general fans will say. And again, like I said, we'll have Mr. Crockpot, Deebs, as they call him, from Edge of Philly Sports on here. He's the one that did all the Joel Embiid trade scenarios. We'll have him on the show tomorrow, And maybe we could go over that poll question and see what's really going to be. Letting Jimmy Butler walk was a huge mistake. Obviously, John, and I don't mean this. I appreciate all your comments. I'm glad you're finding the show and coming in on a semi-regular basis. But I got to say, John, that it was a huge mistake, but we got to stop living in the past with it. That mistake happened how many years ago? We can't change that past anymore. We could be bitter over it. We could be mad about it. But honestly, it's time to not worry about that anymore. And I will say, I said at the beginning of the show, I don't think you were in the comments just yet, but John, you're going to hear rumors that, I'm sure there's going to be somebody's going to circulate a rumor that Jimmy Butler's unhappy with the way the season ended and he wants another star or he wants out of Miami. You're going to hear rumors him and Joel Embiid want to play together again. And I'm just going to say it. I don't think bringing Jimmy Butler back to Philly should even ever be considered on the table. I just don't. I think that was 3-4 years ago. It's time to move on. At least we won't have any more scheduled losses. And Adam, if I am Nick Nurse, that is the first thing that I'm saying. Not to throw Doc Rivers under the bus, guys, but Doc Rivers said it was okay for you to lose. That's not going to happen here. Maybe I'm not using Doc Rivers' name in it. That would literally be throwing him under the bus. But if I'm Nick Nurse, you get some of those scheduled loss efforts, I'm not going to be afraid to bench Joel Embiid. I'm not going to be afraid to bench whoever that other star is, James Harden, Bradley Beal, whoever it may be. I'm setting the tone early in the season. It's not acceptable. When George Niang laughed, when Doc Rivers' practices was brought up and how Doc Rivers doesn't actually run practices. We're going to run practices if I'm Nick Nurse. I'm telling you, guys, we're going to run. We're going to be healthy. We're going to be the fittest team. We're going to be energetic. We're going to give 110% every minute of this season. It's just the way it's going to be. Maxey and VanVleet, that would be your pick. And it's fine. And I think it's really the most realistic option. Because I think that the whole pause year that I want to develop Maxey to take him to the next level doesn't mean you miss the playoffs. But you still need somebody else opposite Maxey, running the point. And I think VanVleet is that best option to unlock the next level of Tyrese Maxey, not cost us $200 million. And also, VanVleet knows Nick Nurse's system. He's the only player from the Raptors that openly, positively spoke about Nick Nurse after he got the Sixers job. You didn't see any of the other guys doing it. So I saw somebody saying, maybe we should bring Patrick Siakam in here. Well, you didn't hear him saying anything. So I don't know. Jimmy on Sixers now is a cancer past his prime. We need a young, under the y'all. I say it all the time, Eric. You need to find the next superstar when they're just still a star. Like Maxey's just a star going to become a superstar, hopefully. You need another star that's going to become a superstar. And I agree with you 110%. You got to find them now. Again, John Morant. Like, I don't know. For some reason, John Morant just popped back into my head again. And I'm still on that. I'm going to write John Morant's name down so I don't forget tomorrow when we have Mr. Crockpot on here. I'm going to bring up John Morant again and see what he thinks. And I want you guys to percolate the John Morant, concept and thought. I know he's got a problem. I know he's got some immaturity issues and some issues that are going to keep him off the court next year for a very long time. But there's no doubt that John Morant is a superstar stud player. He's young. He needs out of Memphis. He needs to go somewhere else. He needs a place to just whatever. And I know Philly's a big media. You got strong, passionate fan base that could be problems. But I don't know. Something about John Morant at the Wells Fargo Center. I'm willing to take that chance. I think it's similar but different to the what's his name, the center from the Lakers. Why am I drawing such a mind blank sometimes when I do names? I can't pronounce names and then I forget names. That trade was just atrocious. It started the process. But I want to call him Kwame Brown. I know it's not Kwame Brown, but I don't know. Who's the Lakers center we brought in? Why can't I think of his name? What is wrong with me sometimes in the morning? I don't think VanVleet did leave all that money on the table to come take a pay cut on a team not showing championship aspirations. And I'm not saying the Sixers don't have championship aspirations. They still do. but you don't need to be the 1 or 2 seed to win a championship, or at least play for the finals. So I think he's a really strong fit. John Morant means betting everything on the character of a young man. Can't Philly? It's true. I don't know if I'm willing to take that chance or not, but I'm kind of leading. Like I want to take that chance. Would it completely destroy Andrew Bynum? Dude, Eric, thank you. I don't know what's wrong with my mind. I wanted to say Kwame Brown. I know Kwame Brown was the wrong answer. But my mind sometimes in the morning, man, I just can't get these names out sometimes. Andrew Bynum. That was a mistake. You go out and trade for John Morant. It's going to cost you some pieces. It's going to cost you Tobias Harris. It's going to cost you Springer, future picks that we don't have. It's going to cost you a lot. But I feel like I'm willing to take that chance. It's a complete and total risk. But if you take that chance and still keep Maxey, I kind of feel like, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to. Shaq's heir apparent before, yeah. I mean, Bynum was just, it was what it was. Although we're not in this position right now if the Andrew Bynum trade doesn't happen. Because if they don't do the Andrew Bynum trade, they don't bomb that year, and they don't have to start the process and strip it down and whatnot. I don't know. The Andrew Bynum trade, as bad as it was, put us in the position we are now, where we're in contention. Let's not beat around the bush. We are in contention for an NBA Finals every year. We're just not that good yet. I don't know if I'm Memphis GM. I'm not moving Morant until he has pending. Well, that's taking it too far because he doesn't have anything like that yet. He's just got a lot of immaturity. But see, the thing is, I think John Morant needs out of Memphis for his own well-being, because John Morant has too many negative influences around him there. You get him away from all those people, get him in another city. Maybe it's the best thing for him. Maybe it is. I mean, there's no rumors that they're going to trade him or anything like that. That's not floating around. I'm just saying there's talk amongst people like me, content creators, that maybe it's the best thing for him to move him. I don't know. Look, make sure you come prepared tomorrow with all these questions, all these comments, all these points, because like I said, great guest tomorrow that really understands this stuff. And I want to make sure we all get our comments in tomorrow with Mr. Crockpot, Mr. Deebs, because it's going to be a great episode, a great interaction, great back and forth on all these things. And go follow me on Twitter at Beard and Knowledge, because I'm going to put the poll question: who would you prefer to pair with Maxey in 2023, 2024? And I'll be curious to see what the fans really think about all the different options that I lay out on the table. But we got to wrap up Trending the AM a minute or two early here. We didn't really get much Phillies talking today. Again, I briefly hinted Dave Dombrowski. Got to get a fifth starter guy. You got to. You can't keep rolling this out. But make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're sharing it. Maybe we'll get back to the Phillies on Thursday. Friday, All Football Friday. I have Tim Sullivan from PSN, Philadelphia Sports Network, one of the writers. He'll be joining me for Football Friday. I don't even know what we're going to talk about Friday this week. I appreciate it. I appreciate it every single day that everybody tunes in. I appreciate all the help to promote this show. Adam, you sharing out the show on Facebook every single day means so much to me. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I hope everybody has a great day. As the summer moves on, we'll get back to some more 90-minute and 80-minute episodes. I just have a lot of catering this week at the pizza shop, so I do got to move on. I got to get to work today. So everybody have a great day. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I am Phil Stiefel. Like, share, retweet, follow. Shout it from the rooftops. Trending the AM, the best morning show in Philadelphia, and the only place where your opinions actually matter. Y'all have a great day.